Hi everyone, really glad to see you on our channel, and in this video we're going to talk about portrait sketches, quick head sketches. One sketch will be done just like the charcoal sketch and will focus on local spots. A local spot is the tone or color of an object regardless of its lighting and the space in which it is located. In this case, if you look at the subject I was drawing, what caught my attention were the black spots. In such sketches, you can draw directly based on the spots, breaking it down into black and white without halftones. But I like to combine both, so I'll have an almost flat image of the black spots, but at the same time I'll work on the halftones in the face a little bit at the end. When I see a subject like this, it makes sense to depict it as contrasty as I see it. Otherwise, it's unclear why this particular subject was chosen. The second sketch will be less contrasting, it will be lighter and will already be done in pencil. I used an HB pencil. This video is from a lesson. So for a beginner or someone learning, it's easier to outline a sketch even if it will later be done in charcoal or marker, starting with a harder pencil because outlining directly in charcoal can be tricky. In Photoshop, I draw in a way that's similar to the materials the student will be using, so right now I'm starting with the pencil stage, and then I'll move on to filling in with charcoal when we get to the dark black spots. You can fill it with charcoal, you can fill it with a marker, you can fill it with ink, it doesn't matter anymore.
Hey friends, if you like my videos and want to see more of them, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos, don't forget about the bell, and of course leave your comments down below this video.
The main thing is to understand the principle. What material you choose to work with doesn't really matter. It's easier to start any sketches with a hard pencil, and I also draw my longer portraits this way because, first of all, you don't have to erase it 50 times if you need to. It won't damage the paper too much, and you won't be spreading dirt around. So we lightly outline the general features. And then when we refine things, if something's not in the right place, the initial outlines definitely won't be in the right place, we can just press a bit harder on the pencil and we don't have to erase the lower layers because they get covered anyway and don't interfere with us. In general, erasers are rarely used in sketches. Of course you can use it, but generally it's better to minimize it because when you grab an eraser you get distracted from the subject and the thought you were focused on. So you look at the drawing, at the subject, and you think, okay, I need to fix this here, adjust that there, and for the next step I'll do this and that. And when you erase, when you grab the eraser, half of your thoughts just fly out. For portrait sketches, I recommend having 2 pencils, or rather 3. The first one is a hard pencil, which is barely visible, and we use it to outline the initial lines. Then you need 2 soft pencils. A soft pencil can be 810B for filling in, or it can be a charcoal pencil, or as I mentioned before, ink or some kind of marker. It doesn't really matter. If we're talking specifically about pencils that can be sharpened, it's better to have 1 soft blunt pencil. It's easier to use it for filling in, meaning you can lay it on its side and use it for that. And the second pencil, well, for the face, if we're talking about a graphite pencil, a 2B is enough to draw out bright, dark, and finer details. When it comes to charcoal, depends on what you have. Charcoal pencils also come in different hardness and softness. Try them out in the store on a piece of paper and see which one you like best. Why do I recommend getting a second one? It's also for the details, because one of your pencils will be blunt and the other will be sharp and really sharp, and you'll use that one just for the little details. Because of course with that thick pencil you're using for filling in, it will be difficult for you to make details at first. I do everything with 1 pencil because I work on the side, and when you use the side of the lead for filling in, it gets worn down diagonally and it forms 1 corner. With charcoal pencils it's possible, but of course with 8B and 10B pencils it's harder to get a sharp point on the lead.
If you want to learn how to draw like a professional artist, I have some great news for you. The best drawing tutorial, which is already being sold in dozens of countries, is now available in English. This is a complete drawing course that takes you from the basics all the way to advanced pencil portraits. It includes plastic anatomy for all parts of the face and head. There's a detailed guide on how to shade correctly. You'll learn how to depict volume and how to light your objects in the drawing from your imagination. You'll learn how to make sketches from life and make them look realistic. You'll be able to draw different objects and, of course, people. But at the end of the tutorial, you'll learn how to draw people of different ages from life and make them look like themselves.
The softer the pencil, the shorter the lead tends to be. In this situation, it would help to just buy thick leads, the same thickness as those in wooden pencils, like a mechanical pencil. It's easier to work with soft leads than with a wooden pencil where you constantly have to sharpen it. You just insert it into the mechanical pencil and it's easy to work with them. With hard pencils, of course, you can do all the same things, but again, the lead needs to be thick, the same thickness as in a wooden pencil. If we're talking about a material like a marker for filling in, then we just use a liner for the fine details. Well, it can be any regular black gel pen, or it could be a liner. What's the difference with a gel pen? It has a ball that spins and delivers the ink. It can also come in different thicknesses, and there are liners that have a tip that absorbs the ink and gradually releases it. It really doesn't matter. When we were learning, we only drew with a gel pen, and it was enough for us. The next sketch, as I mentioned at the beginning, is done based on the lighting. I was drawn to the large masses, meaning the volume of the skull is very well defined, like how the shadow falls on the ear, shadows along the silhouette, so you have a lit head and a dark silhouette. How to draw things like a mohawk, just like eyelashes, the principle is basically the same. Notice that there are clumps of hair in some places, while in others there are translucent strands. Don't draw everything the same. Make some areas darker, some lighter, some denser, and some with gaps. First, we sketch everything lighter, and then we add more contrasting strands. The principle is the same, no matter what the subject is. First, you lightly sketch it out, and with each subsequent layer, you reveal more and more. Artists who sketch often don't start with a hard pencil and switch to a soft one. They draw directly with the final material, achieving brightness from the start. Frequent sketching is key. When I get into the flow, I use one pencil, outlining and refining with it. Everything is drawn immediately with the final material, and it can be done brightly right away. But the problem is that for this, you need to draw sketches very often. So if I get into drawing, I usually just use one pencil, but still with that same pencil, I first outline the general lines and then I refine and solidify them. Practice is crucial. Use a hard pencil and light lines to manage drawing. Start with light lines to avoid erasing. Sketches are essential. Well, plus it also shapes the right approach to your work. So when you draw a portrait or a longer piece, whether it's a landscape or a still life, you'll be able to manage the whole process correctly, starting with light lines, and you won't have to erase things 50 times. Any piece of work starts with a sketch, which is why they are so important. Whether it's oil, you start outlining the sketch right away with a brush. For a portrait, you also start everything with a sketch and then you build it up layer by layer. Please pay attention to the fact that in both sketches, I'm drawing everything at the same time. I outlined the first lines of the main mass all at once. Then I added the second layer, at the same time making it a bit more detailed. So with each layer I work a bit more, adding more detail, and I go over each layer evenly, tonally throughout the whole sketch. Then I strengthen the accents with the next layer, making them even darker, again across the whole sketch. And so it goes every time. You can't just put a dark blot somewhere and not give it support in other areas. It's really important that if you introduce a dark area somewhere, it should be repeated in another spot. Otherwise, the sketch won't look cohesive. Don't get upset if what you drew doesn't look exactly like what you were drawing from. Of course, it's not easy to draw a person that looks similar in just 10 minutes. For a person, anything goes, like a landscape and so on. The main thing you need to convey is the first impression of what you see. That's the essential feeling. The lighting is contrasting on the head of the second model, and for the first one, it was those very local spots I told you about. A drawing is when you have all the halftones marked out, meaning all the tone gradations are there, so the skin really feels like skin and the hair feels like hair. A sketch is something in between that. That is, there are also free sketch lines, but at the same time, it is already a more detailed sketch drawing, and it should definitely look similar.
I also want to tell you about a very important type of sketching, especially if you want to learn how to draw portraits. These are sketches with contrasting lighting. In these sketches, you sit in front of a mirror and draw self-portraits. Or you can draw a model who is posing for you, and you light yourself with electric light from different sides. From the side, from below, from above, from different angles. You can also change the angle. This will teach you to see the general shapes and volumes on the face and to work correctly. So we start with large areas of shadow, and only then do we refine and look for the places in those shadows, where the parts of the face should be. This exercise will really help you in mastering portrait drawing, including studying the anatomy of the head, so I highly recommend doing it.
How can you learn to quickly and accurately sketch people? We start with general lines, lightly sketching the mass where the head will be located and immediately marking the shoulder area. I lightly mark the central axis where the center of the face is and the cross axis where I place the eyes, nose, and mouth. They are almost parallel, with a slight curve. I mark the facial features with a mid-tone indicating where everything will be, and since this is a quick sketch, I immediately introduce a darker tone. It's very important to use a live line in sketches. A live line is one that is thicker in some places and thinner in others, darker and lighter. It's precisely because of the live line that we create an additional sense of volume and can bring some elements to the foreground while keeping others in the background.
Well, I hope you found this video interesting and helpful. If so, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the bell to get updates. And with that, I'm saying goodbye, wishing everyone a great mood. See you next time. Bye-bye.